Hello, welcome back everybody. Today I'm working on something that I should have done a long time ago and I just kept putting it off. I had other stuff to do, but I got this tire on this garden tractor, and what happens is it's leaking around the bead of the tire, and after time, it could be 2 to 3 weeks down the road, it'll leak down enough, the tire will go flat, and this tractor is extremely heavy on the front being a diesel, and it might sit with a flat tire for a week, sometimes in the winter longer before I get back here, because I don't get back here a lot in the winter, to pump it back up. What happens when it goes flat is it sits for a while. On this one, it cracked the sidewall a little bit in one spot, and these are really nice tires and I don't want to ruin them. So today I'm going to solve this problem and fix it, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing that. So I took this tire off the other day and I took emery cloth, sandpaper, I cleaned the lip of the rim really good in there, wiped everything down, cleaned the bead of the tire, and I put it back on, pumped it up, and surprisingly, I don't know how, but it leaked worse after I did that than what it did before. So it's still leaking, it didn't fix the problem. So today, we're gonna fix that. So talking about this, your most common leaks on tires, and this, you can do this what I'm using on car tires, trailer tires, they don't have to be lawn and garden, but this is common problem on lawn and garden tractors is usually the #1 place they're going to leak is around the bead of the tire itself, and secondly a valve stem, unless you have a puncture or a hole anywhere. But generally the most common place I've always had leaks on these tires when they sit for a while and they go flat is around the beads of the tires. So a couple things you can do. Here's a rim off a Super Garden tractor, and I'm getting ready to put tires on these rims. So standard procedure, what I do, anytime I put new tires on a rim, I will wire wheel these down, sand them, clean them, try to get all the rust and corrosion off of them, and then prime and paint them. That way it gives a nice clean surface for the bead of the tire to seat on the rim. On this rim here, and sometimes on a lot of these rims, the problem is these garden tractors sit outside, people let them sit, we rescue them, we try to restore them. The tires go flat, it leaves a void there for weather, rain, snow to accumulate in there, and they sit on the lips of these rims and they rust, sometimes really bad. This rim here is rusted pretty good in a couple areas, so I'm not sure how well this one's gonna be able to clean up. That sometimes paint and cleaning them up doesn't always solve the problem. So then you have to either have a couple options. You have to get a new rim, which on these tractors, these rims are not very common, and when you do find them, they're a pretty hefty price you have to pay for a good rim. Or your other option would be a tube, and I personally don't like tubes. I prefer tubeless tires. I like having an actual valve stem, so I try to use the rims if I can without tubes. So another common problem why these tires leak is improper or aggressive installation of a tire. And a lot of times people will take a tire and they'll, I understand the tire shop's closed, maybe it's a Sunday or wanting to put tires on something, but I've been guilty of this myself. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm sure a lot of us have done it, but a lot of times you'll use an improper tool, and I've done this years ago where I've tried to put tires on with stuff like a screwdriver, and what happens is I got these tires for a Quiet Line Super that I'm doing, and I got these tires extremely cheap for like $10 a piece, and the reason was they were returned and someone had improperly tried to mount these tires, and I would say they probably ended up using a screwdriver, prying, and they ripped the bead up on these tires pretty good. I think I'll be able to mount these without using tubes, but it's going to be close because these tires were pretty aggressively mounted, and it almost destroyed the bead of the tire itself. So I'm hoping I can seal these up without having to use tubes, but worst case, I got the tires so cheap that it doesn't matter. These tires on front tires for these garden tractors, especially like these tri-ribs I have here, these V71s are like the same thing. These beads are really stiff, they're really hard. The sidewalls on these tires are just really, really tough and thick. So these tires here, I've come to the point where I don't even try mounting these myself. I have a small tire changer, but I've just found that instead of taking the chance, screwing the bead up of the rim, and I think it's like $15 they charge me to mount a tire, I take these to tire shops to have them mounted just for the fact of, for the time and effort it takes me to mount these to the rims sometimes, it's just easier. Taking it to the tire shop, they can mount them, I can bring them home and put the tires on the tractor. And I don't have to worry about screwing the tire up, because these tires for these garden tractors, all tires in general, are extremely expensive anymore, but these I think are up to $130 a piece. So the last thing I want to do is screw the bead up on this tire and then have to add more money to the cost to have to end up tubing it. So that's my suggestion to you. If you get new tires like this, sometimes it's better to just not try to do it yourself and take it to a tire shop. But we're going to take this tire off today, and what I'm going to be using, I've used this in the past, is bead sealer. Now this is always a last resort for me. Like I said, I try to clean up the lips of the rims, try to clean the beads of the tires as well as I can without using this. But I've used this in the past and I've had good results and good luck with this. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take this tire, we're going to put some bead sealer around it and see if we can get it sealed. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I just got some tire soap, I call it, but it's just dish soap and water mixed in a spray bottle. I use that one for detecting leaks around the tire, but sometimes for beads this works pretty good. It's just a little water bottle with a hole I poked in it with some dish soap, and this way I can just put a little bead of the soap around the bead of the tire, and then we can detect where it's leaking from. I can already see I'm getting some bubbles here. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but you'll be able to see the soap bubbling up around the bead of the wheel. So that's how you can tell if you have a leak around the bead of the tire. And right there, it's really leaking good in them spots. So first thing I'll do is we'll remove the valve core out of the stem, and this will let all the air out of the tire. You can get these little tools. And then once we do that, I'll get this tire, the bead loose, and we'll put some bead sealer in it and then pump it back up. All right, generally what you want to do is clean off all the soapy water and everything before you remove the core from the valve stem. That way you don't have the water going down into the tire and around the rim. Breaking the beads off these can be a little difficult. I usually stand up on the tire, use my heels, and move around it. These broke easier than I thought they were going to. Sometimes they can be a real struggle, and if you can't do it, you may have to go to a tire shop if you don't have a tire changing tool and have them break the beads for you. Once I do all that, I just go around here with a rag around the lip of the rim and the bead of the tire itself, and you just want to make sure everything is dry and as clean as it possibly can be before we apply the sealer. All right, so what I'm using today is Xtra Seal bead sealer. You can get this at, I'm sure, Napa, Walmart might even sell it, but this is pretty common. You can find this around. This is what I'll be using. I suggest having a lot of rags on hand because this stuff can be messy. What I generally try to do with these tires is I try to get it down just on the bead of the tire itself down in here. I try to use this as sparingly as I can, and I don't like to slop it all around because I don't want this bead sealer. You can clean it off, but I don't want the mess of it being all over my tires and looking terrible and the cosmetics of it to just look like crap. So you just have to be careful, push down on the bead, use it sparingly, and go in here and we'll apply it, and then we'll pump this tire back up, and hopefully this problem will be solved. Okay, one thing I will say, this stuff, you do want to use this in a well-ventilated area because it does have some fumes with it. So like I said, I try to just get down in there on the tire and on the inside of the rim, and I try to just paint this on very lightly. I try to give it a generous coat, but like I said, you don't want this gooing, gobbing everywhere. You don't need that much of it. it goes pretty far, and it can really seal a tire with a little bit of it. You don't have to gob it on there real bad. All right, so I got both sides coated. I managed to keep it as clean as I possibly could. Now I'm just putting the valve core back in the stem, and sometimes with these tires, you may have to leave the core out to get the bead to seat. By leaving that core out, it allows more air to go into the tire to expand it quicker, and then once you get the beads to actually seat, you can put that core back in. I'm gonna try it with it. I think I'll be pretty confident. We'll air this tire up, and then I think it says 30 or 50 pounds max pressure. I'm gonna have to double check it, but we'll put about 25 to 30 in this and then see if there's any leaks. All right, so I'm right at 28 pounds. That's more than enough to test this. I'm just gonna go around the tire. If there's any little bit of bead sealer that I can see on there, I'm gonna try to clean it off. It won't really hurt nothing, but for me, it's just cosmetic. I don't like the looks of sealer everywhere, so. Now, I don't slop this stuff on super thick. I try to just coat the bead of the tire, like I said, and a little bit of the rim if I can while I'm down in there, but we'll see if that was enough to seal this bead. I don't see any bubbles on the back side. That's a wonderful sign. Now we'll try the front. Everything looks perfectly sealed on the front. Like I said, that's with 28 pounds in there. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit anyway. So I'd say that's a success. And it just goes to show, like I told you guys, you don't have to gob this stuff on to where it's everywhere around the tire. A little can go a long way, but you wanna put enough on to where you don't have to worry about having to break the bead back off and put more on. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, I hope this video helped any of you that are having similar situations, maybe with leaky beads on tires like I'm having. I do have to take the rear tires off next and fix them as well. Plus there's other garden tractors I have that I have to do that on. I do like this Xtra Seal bead sealer. I know there's other products on the market. They might work well also, but I've just used this product in the past and I've had good luck with it. That's why I'm showing you this one today. If you guys like garden tractor videos, tips and tricks like this, I do plan on doing more videos like this in the future. So if you haven't, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss further content. As always, thanks for watching.